I smooth my navy dress as I park in front of my parents' modest ranch-style home. The red brick facade and neatly trimmed hedges look exactly the same as they did when I was growing up. Some things never change in Boise. Some things do. My mother, Linda, opens the door before I reach the porch. Her arms stretch wide, her smile too bright. "Melissa, you look lovely." She pulls me into an embrace that feels suspiciously genuine, her floral perfume enveloping me. It's been too long. 5 years of minimal contact, then suddenly a dinner invitation because they miss me. My skin prickles with warning. "Hi, Mom." I return the hug, holding myself slightly back. Dad appears in the entryway, his silver hair freshly trimmed. There she is. His eyes drift immediately to Chase and Brooke standing in the living room. A nervous glance. A silent exchange. I notice. The dining room hasn't changed: cream walls, oak furniture, and family photos covering every surface. I stop at the mahogany credenza, touching the silver frame holding our Grand Canyon vacation photo. The trip I financed when Dad's retirement account took a hit. "Wine?" Mom asks, already pouring a generous glass of Cabernet. "Thanks." I accept it, taking a small sip as my siblings settle into their usual spots. Chase, slouched in his chair, designer watch gleaming. Brooke, perfectly highlighted hair and manicured nails, scrolling through Instagram. "The pot roast smells wonderful," I offer, trying to ease the strange undercurrent pulsing beneath the familiar scene. "Local development is booming," Dad says, passing the potatoes. "They're putting in that new shopping center over on Fairview." Small talk, the currency of people avoiding what they really want to say. Chase takes a large bite, talking through it. "My new album is finally taking off. The producer thinks we might get some serious streaming numbers this time." The same producer who received $12,000 of my money for the last breakthrough that never materialized. "That's great," I murmur. Brooke doesn't even look up from her phone, thumb scrolling through images of European cafes and designer handbags. A lifestyle her part-time job at the boutique can't possibly fund. "The lighting is perfect," she says to no one in particular, angling her phone to show a cafe in Paris she visited last spring. On my dime. The room feels charged, as if everyone is waiting for something. Mom refills wine glasses that aren't empty. Dad clears his throat twice. Chase checks his watch. Choreographed. Rehearsed. I cut a piece of pot roast, the knife scraping against the plate with a sound that makes my mother wince. Dad sets down his fork deliberately. Clears his throat a third time. Here it comes. "We've been meaning to talk to you about something important, Melissa." My stomach tightens. The room shifts, narrowing to the serious expressions across the table. "We finalized the will," Mom announces, her voice carrying the practiced evenness of a prepared speech. She dabs her lips with a napkin, avoiding my eyes. "The house, the cabin, everything, it's all going to Chase and Brooke." The pot roast turns to ash in my mouth. I set my fork down carefully. "I see." 10 years ago. I was 28, just getting Barrett Commercial Design off the ground. My phone rang late on a Tuesday night, Dad's panicked voice explaining they were underwater on the mortgage. The emergency family meeting in this very dining room. The relief on their faces when I promised to help just until things stabilize. Chase hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "You're saving us, Mel." Brooke wiped away tears. "I don't know what we'd do without you." My small business success had suddenly made me the family bank. It never stopped. Chase's music career always just one more investment away from success. The $20,000 for studio time. The equipment. The tour van that never left the driveway. Brooke's tearful pleas for tuition. Just enough to finish the semester she'd promised. 3 different majors, 3 different last times. The cabin renovations that were supposed to be a family project somehow became my project alone. My checkbook. My responsibility. Holiday gatherings where envelopes of cash were accepted with casual thanks, as if I were simply passing the salt. Mom leans forward now, her well-rehearsed explanation flowing smoothly. "You don't need it, Melissa. You're stable. Your siblings need a foundation." Chase doesn't even try to hide his smirk from across the table. Brooke shrugs, finally putting down her phone. It's not like you can't afford your own place anyway. I set my napkin beside my plate, my voice steady. I've contributed $380,000 over the past 10 years. The mortgage payments, the renovations, the loans, everything. Mom's expression doesn't change. Nobody asked you to do that. Actually, you did. All of you did. Dad's face hardens. That was your choice. Nobody forced you. The room goes still. 10 years of support. 10 years of being the responsible one. 10 years of built-up expectations, disguised as family duty. All of it meaningless. I look at each of them. The parents who taught me about fairness but practice none. The brother who takes without giving. The sister who considers gratitude an inconvenience. What would you do if your family took everything you gave them for 10 years and then told you it meant nothing? I'm about to show them. My knuckles turn white against the steering wheel. The engine idles, but I can't move. Can't breathe. Can't process what just happened. 10 years. $380,000. All of it dismissed with a wave of my mother's manicured hand. Rain taps against the windshield, mirroring the tremor in my fingertips as I pull up the spreadsheet on my phone. The one I've maintained meticulously since that first panicked call a decade ago. Every mortgage payment, every emergency transfer, every last-time loan. The numbers blur as tears threaten, but I blink them back. Crying won't change what happened in that dining room. I scroll through the endless entries. June 2015, $12,000 for Chase's studio time. August 2017, $8,500 for Brooke's final semester of her second degree attempt. April 2020, $35,000 for cabin repairs. My throat tightens. The cabin where I haven't spent a single weekend in 3 years. I tap through to Chase's Instagram profile, where sunset photos from last month leap off the screen. The familiar deck railing, the lake view I paid to preserve. But it's not the cabin that makes my stomach lurch, it's the location tag. Cabo San Lucas. The same week he texted asking for $5,000 to finish the album. My fingers move automatically, finding Brooke's profile next. Her latest post yesterday showcases a Gucci handbag I recognize from their fall collection. Caption, "Treat yourself." The timestamp, 2 days after her tearful call about being a little short on rent. I've been played. Not occasionally, not accidentally, systematically, for years. A text notification interrupts my scrolling. Hank, the cabin caretaker. Miss Barrett, just wanted to let you know your brother had quite a party here last weekend. Broken window in the sunroom. I've fixed it, put it on your account as instructed. The calm that settles over me feels foreign. Cold. Clarifying. I start the car and drive home through rain-slick streets, my mind oddly quiet after years of noise. The endless calculations of what my family might need next. The constant anxiety of being their safety net. My kitchen table disappears beneath the spread of documents. Mortgage statements. Venmo transfers. Text messages pleading for just enough to get by. Emails promising repayment that never came. The clock reads 2:38 a.m. I haven't moved in hours. I reach for my laptop, fingers steady now. First, the mortgage auto-pay $1,700 monthly for a house I don't live in. Canceled. The utility accounts, the insurance policies, the credit card I added them to, for emergencies only. One by one, methodically, I sever each financial connection. With each cancellation, my breathing deepens. The tightness in my chest, a constant companion for years, begins to loosen. I draft the email 3 times before I'm satisfied. No accusations, no emotion, just facts and figures. Effective immediately, I am discontinuing financial support. Attached is a comprehensive accounting of the $380,000 provided over the past decade. I've given 6 months' notice to the mortgage company. You'll need to make other arrangements by then. I press send before I can second-guess myself. The family photo album sits at the edge of the table. I reach for it, then stop. Not tonight. Tonight is for reclaiming what's mine. I've been warning you for years. Catherine's voice through the phone carries no judgment, only vindication. You know I love you, but they've been treating you like an ATM, not a daughter. I pour another cup of coffee, watching the sun rise from my balcony. I know, I just couldn't see it until they made it impossible not to. What did Marcus say? She asks. That it's about time. That he's wondered for years how I managed to fund my own life while bankrolling theirs. I laugh, but it comes out hollow. Turns out I wasn't managing. I've been putting off my own life to fund theirs. The doorbell rings. Ruth, my 78-year-old neighbor, stands there with a casserole dish and knowing eyes that miss nothing. Thought you might need this, she says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Rough night? I nod, accepting both the food and the concern behind it. Family? She asks, settling into a kitchen chair. How did you know? Ruth pats my hand. Only family can wound us this deeply, dear. Blood blinds us to truths we'd see clearly in others. Her words land like permission. Permission to see clearly at last. My phone vibrates constantly throughout the day. I finally check it after dinner. Mom, there must be some mistake with the mortgage payment. Dad, call us immediately. Chase. WTF, Mom? My card was just declined at the studio. Brooke's voicemail comes last, her voice rising with each word. You can't just abandon your family like this, after everything we've done for you. The irony almost makes me laugh. Almost. Chase's final text arrives at 10:48 p.m. You have responsibilities. To this family. To me and Brooke. This is the most selfish thing you've ever done. I read it twice. Then, with deliberate movements, I silence my phone. The sudden quiet feels like the first deep breath after a decade underwater. For the first time in 10 years, I owe nothing to anyone. The relief is staggering. I freeze in the hallway, keys suspended in midair. The sight doesn't register at first. My apartment door covered in an expanding mass of hardened yellow foam that bulges from the frame like a cancerous growth. The keyhole has disappeared entirely. What the... The words escape in a whisper as I step closer, touching the rigid surfacing fingers. My phone buzzes. 3 new messages from Mom. We're worried about you, Melissa. This isn't like you. Your father hasn't been sleeping. Is that what you wanted? Call us. We can work this out. Work what out? The fact that they've written me out of their will after I saved their house? Or that my brother has apparently decided to escalate this into property damage? I pull up the security app on my phone, scrolling back through today's footage. There he is, Chase, in his black leather jacket and designer sunglasses, approaching my door at 2:17 p.m. with a can of construction foam in his hand. The camera captures his smirk as he aims the nozzle at my lock and presses, watching with satisfaction as the yellow substance expands and hardens. My phone buzzes again. Chase, this time. Hey sis, heard you're having door trouble. Maybe you should have thought about that before cutting us off. The hallway starts to spin. I lean against the wall, my heart hammering against my ribs as the reality crashes down. They're not just passive-aggressive anymore. They're retaliating. 4 more texts arrive in rapid succession, all family members claiming they know nothing about this, all suggesting I should calm down and talk things through. My cousin Diane, who I haven't heard from in 3 years, calls unexpectedly. Melissa? It's so good to hear your voice. I was just thinking about you. Listen, I heard there's some tension with your parents. I end the call mid-sentence. The hotel room is sterile and impersonal beige walls, generic landscape prints, a desk that's seen 1,000 travelers come and go. The locksmith couldn't salvage my door. The entire mechanism needs replacing, along with sections of the frame damaged by the foam. 2 days minimum before I can go home. I sit at the edge of the bed, staring at my open laptop. The spreadsheet of expenses glows in the dimness of weeks lost work from the disruption, hotel costs, door replacement, emergency locksmith fees. The numbers add up quickly. My business account shows the impact. 3 client meetings postponed. A presentation I couldn't access because the files were locked in my apartment. The carefully built cushion I'd maintained for emergencies now dwindling because of Chase's vindictive stunt. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection looks hollow-eyed and uncertain. Was I wrong to stand up for myself? I whispered to the stranger staring back at me. The question hangs in the air as I brush my teeth mechanically. Family means sacrifice, Mom always said. Family sticks together. Family comes first. But when does sacrifice become exploitation? I lie awake in the unfamiliar bed, watching headlights cast moving shadows across the ceiling. Does family obligation truly have no limits? Would I still be the good daughter if I'd given them $500,000 instead of $380,000? Would the will have included me then? Would Chase have respected my property? The questions circle like vultures, keeping sleep at bay until dawn bleeds through the curtains. I'd like to file a police report. My voice surprises me with its steadiness as I stand at the precinct desk. The officer looks up, his expression neutral. Nature of the incident? Vandalism and property damage. I have video evidence identifying the perpetrator. His eyebrows rise slightly at my clinical tone. I hand over my phone with the security footage queued up. That's my brother, I explain. He used construction foam to seal my apartment door, causing over $5,000 in damages when you include lost work and temporary housing. Family dispute? The officer asks. Criminal vandalism, I correct him. He studies me for a moment, then nods and begins typing. Would you like to press charges? Yes. The word comes without hesitation, surprising us both. My phone buzzes. Mom. Chase says you're threatening him with the police? Melissa, this is family. We handle things privately. I silence the phone and continue giving my statement. Back at the hotel, I spread the evidence across the desk with methodical precision. The security footage, downloaded and saved in 3 different locations. Bank statements documenting a decade of payments to my family. Screenshots of Chase's threatening text message. The itemized estimate for my door repair. The receipt for my hotel stay. Catherine arrives with a camera, helping document the damage for insurance. I can't believe they're doing this to you, she says, snapping photos of the foam-sealed door from different angles. After everything you've done for them. I reply, surprised at the clarity in my voice. I just can't believe I let it go on so long. Marcus calls from the office. Take all the time you need. I've rescheduled the Westlake presentation for next week. I don't deserve you, I tell him. No, you deserve better than what your family's giving you. He corrects me. That evening, my elderly neighbor Ruth appears at my hotel door with a casserole dish. You shouldn't have to eat room service every night, she says, placing the still warm container on the desk. The scent of home-cooked chicken and herbs fills the sterile room, and you shouldn't have to face this alone. I don't know what to do, I admit. Ruth's weathered hand covers mine. You're already doing it. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, Melissa. It's necessary. I call my attorney the next morning. She reviews my evidence, voice growing increasingly confident. This is open and shut, she says finally. I'll draft a demand letter for $25,000 in damages immediately. That seems high, I reply. It includes punitive damages, pain and suffering, and lost business. Your brother made a choice. Now he gets to live with the consequences. For the first time in weeks, I feel my lips curve into a genuine smile. The notification appears on my phone at 6:43 a.m. Wire transfer, $25,000 from George Barrett. No message, no apology, just the money, appearing silently in my account like a white flag raised on a battlefield. I stare at the notification for a long moment, feeling neither victory nor vindication, just a profound weariness, mingled with something new, something that feels strangely like freedom. I open my banking app and initiate another transfer. $5,000 to the Family Reconciliation Center of Seattle. In the memo line, I type, donation in honor of George and Linda Barrett. That night, in my newly repaired apartment with its fresh paint and reinforced door, I sleep deeply for the first time in weeks. No messages interrupt my dreams. No family obligations tether me to wakefulness. I've reclaimed more than my home. I've reclaimed my power. And somehow, that's enough. My phone buzzes for the 17th time today. I don't need to look to know it's another relative calling to express their concern. It started 3 days ago. Aunt Carol's voice, thick with rehearsed sympathy. I heard what you're doing to your parents, Melissa, after everything they've done for you. I lower the blinds of my office as the autumn sun sets over downtown Seattle. The space I designed myself, clean lines, muted blues, walnut accents, offers no answers to the storm brewing outside these walls. My laptop pings with a new email notification. A screenshot from my cousin Jen, who still talks to me. The family group chat I was removed from yesterday. Linda, we're devastated. After everything we sacrificed to give her opportunities, she's abandoned us in our older years. George, the doctor says Linda's blood pressure is dangerously high from the stress. Chase, she's been acting erratic for months. We're all worried about her mental state. Brooke, I tried reaching out again, but she's completely shut us out. So heartless. I take a deep breath, my fingers trembling slightly as I reach for my water glass. The narrative they're spinning is masterful in its manipulation. In their version, I'm the ungrateful daughter who achieved success and discarded the family who supported her. My phone buzzes again. My neighbor Ruth this time, her voice tense. Linda called me crying about how you've abandoned them, said they're struggling to make ends meet. She pauses. Didn't you just pay off their mortgage last year? Yes. The single word feels heavy in my mouth. That's what I thought. Ruth's tone shifts. Something didn't add up. I open my laptop and stare at the document I've been preparing for 3 days. A simple, factual accounting. No accusations, no emotional language. Just numbers and dates. 10 years of financial support laid bare in black and white. Marcus appears in my doorway, concern etched across his face. You don't have to do this, you know. I do, actually. I straighten my shoulders. The truth deserves as much airtime as the lies. I hit pause before I can reconsider. One statement on my rarely used Facebook page. Family is complicated. Numbers are not. $380,000 over 10 years. That's not abandonment. That's the end of exploitation. Attached. A clean professional spreadsheet detailing every major payment. Mortgage payments. Chase's recording equipment. Brooke's third attempt at college. The cabin renovations. Medical bills. Car payments. Everything. No commentary. Just facts. I close my laptop and drive home in silence, the weight between my shoulder blades finally beginning to lift. The calls start coming by midweek. Different calls this time. I had no idea, my father's cousin Jim says. George told everyone you just decided to cut them off out of nowhere. Catherine sits across from me at my kitchen island, scrolling through her phone. Brooke's lost about 300 followers since yesterday. People are connecting the dots about her Paris trip. She looks up. The one you paid for. I never wanted this, I whisper. You didn't create this, Catherine reminds me. You just stopped hiding it. My neighbor Ruth calls again. Your mother started at the diner today, waiting tables. Information isn't delivered with satisfaction, just as a fact. Your father's working weekends at Anderson's Hardware. I should feel something guilt, perhaps. Instead, I feel a strange, hollow peace. Actions have consequences, even family actions. Another text from Catherine later that evening. Chase just launched a GoFundMe for his breakthrough album. 2 donations so far. I put my phone down and water my houseplants in silence. The letter arrives on a Tuesday, my father's precise handwriting on the envelope. Inside, 3 pages of explanation about misunderstandings and family communication issues. Not once does the word sorry appear. My mother's voicemail follows that evening. We should talk, Melissa. Start fresh. Family is family after all. I'm reviewing design plans when my office door opens. Chase stands there, clutching an ostentatious bouquet and wearing the smile that usually preceded asking for money. Hey, sis. His voice hits the exact note of contrition I'm sure he rehearsed in the car. I've been doing some thinking. I say nothing, waiting. Family's too important for all this unpleasantness. He steps forward, placing the flowers on my desk. We should put this behind us. Which part, specifically? I keep my voice neutral, professional. He shifts uncomfortably. All of it. Water under the bridge. My phone buzzes with a text from Brooke. We really should talk about healing our family. Also, my car needs repairs. Could you help? Just one last time. I look up at Chase, who's examining the modern art piece on my wall, the one I purchased after my first major client paid, instead of handing the money to him for studio time. I think we're done here. I stand, smooth my skirt. Please don't come to my workplace again. His face hardens, the mask slipping. So that's it? 10 years of family and you're just done? No, I say, walking to the door. 10 years of banking. I've closed the account. The door clicks shut behind him, the sound remarkably like freedom. I arrive 15 minutes early to Riverstone Coffee, my hands steady as I park. Catherine sits in her own car 2 spaces over, giving me a reassuring nod before we both step out. The weight of the leather portfolio under my arm grounds me. You're sure about this? Catherine asks, her voice gentle but firm. The same voice that's guided me through the last 3 months of therapy sessions and sleepless nights. I'm sure. The coffee shop bustles with Tuesday morning regulars. I select a corner table with clear sightlines to the door and position my chair facing the entrance. Catherine takes a seat at the adjacent table, close enough for support, but separate enough to send a message. This isn't a family reunion. This is a reckoning. I order a medium Americano with room for cream. Catherine orders tea. We wait. They arrive as a unit, just like they've always operated. My father leads the procession, his silver hair uncombed, his collared shirt wrinkled. Behind him, my mother clutches her purse like a shield. Chase and Brooke trail behind, both looking diminished somehow, Chase's designer watch noticeably absent. Brooke's highlights grown out with dark roots, showing. The contrast between us is stark. While I've shed 20 pounds of stress weight and gained a straightness to my spine, they seem to have collapsed inward, as if my financial support had been the scaffolding holding them upright. Melissa. Dad nods stiffly, eyes flicking to Catherine with poorly disguised annoyance. I gesture to the empty chairs. Please, sit down. They arrange themselves across from me, a tribunal suddenly finding themselves on trial. Mom's eyes are already glistening with tears that haven't yet fallen. We appreciate you agreeing to meet. Dad begins, his voice carrying the practiced cadence of a prepared speech. There have been some misunderstandings that have gotten out of hand. Misunderstandings, I repeat, the word hollow. Mom reaches across the table, stopping short of touching my hand when I don't move toward her. We miss you, sweetheart. The family isn't the same without you. Chase clears his throat, eyes fixed somewhere over my left shoulder. Look, about the phone thing, that was stupid. I was angry and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. His apology hangs in the air narrow, specific, focused only on the most recent transgression, not the decade of taking. Brooke tucks her hair behind her ear, a gesture she's copied from me since childhood. Can't we just put all this behind us? Start fresh? We're family. Family, I echo, my voice steady as I unzip my portfolio. That's why we're here. I place the first document on the table, a mortgage statement from 2015 with my name as the payer. Then another, the check for Chase's recording equipment. Then Brooke's tuition bill. One by one, I lay down the artifacts of a decade of one-sided giving cabin renovation invoices, property tax statements, loan agreements never honored. $380,000, I say quietly. That's what family cost me. Dad's face hardens. If this is about money, it's not about money, it's about truth. I place the security camera screenshot showing Chase with the construction foam in front of him. It's about actions having consequences. The silence that follows is absolute. A nearby barista drops a spoon, the clatter making my mother jump. I didn't do it for an inheritance, I continue, my voice clear in the quiet. I did it because I thought we were family. I thought family meant mutual support, reciprocity, gratitude. I meet each of their eyes. I was wrong. Melissa, please. Mom begins. I hold up my hand. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to establish boundaries. I place a business card for Dr. Levinson, the family therapist, on the table. If you ever want a relationship with me again, there are conditions. Chase's smirk slips as I continue. Complete honesty, full accountability for the past, family therapy not negotiable, financial independence for all of you. No more loans, no more bailouts. Brooke's eyes widen. You can't just... I can. I am. I close my portfolio with a soft finality. The choice is yours now. Dad's authority seems to dissolve before my eyes, his shoulders slumping as his scripted speech fails him. Mom's tears fall freely. Now, not the calculated ones I've seen before, but messy, genuine ones that streak her makeup. Chase's expression morphs from dismissal to something closer to fear. Without my safeguards, his future suddenly looks uncertain. Brooke stares at her hands, her entire carefully curated lifestyle built on the foundation of my generosity. I stand, smoothing my navy dress, the same one I wore to that fateful dinner where they revealed the will. But I'm not the same person who sat across from them that night. Let me know what you decide. I turn to leave, then pause. Not because you need something, but because you're ready to be actual family. I walk away without looking back, Catherine falling into step beside me. Outside in the sunlight, I take my first truly free breath in a decade. You did good, Catherine says, squeezing my shoulder. I nod, feeling neither triumph nor sorrow, just the clean, clear certainty of someone who has finally claimed their worth. Some families are born, others are chosen. And sometimes the strongest choice is walking away with your head held high. I step off the plane at Narita International Airport, the exhaustion of a 14-hour flight melting away as reality sets in. I'm actually in Tokyo. After a decade of postponing this dream, filing it under someday, while my bank account drained into the Barrett family void, I'm finally here. My camera sits heavy against my HEPA professional model that would have once funded one of Chase's breakthrough recording sessions. The streets of Shibuya pulse with energy as I frame the perfect shot of strangers crossing the famous intersection. My photography instructor would be proud of the composition. She's been telling me for months that I have a natural eye. It's strange how validating praise feels when it's earned rather than extracted. You look happy, says the text from Catherine when I sent her the photo. She's right. I am. 1 year since I walked away from that dinner table. 365 days of rebuilding a life that's actually mine. My business has expanded into educational spacey university library last month, a progressive elementary school breaking ground next week. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm designing spaces for knowledge while finally becoming educated about my own worth. Back home, my condo overlooks Lake Washington, modest but beautiful, with oversized windows that flood the space with light. No sprawling mortgage, no cabin maintenance fees, no monthly subsidies draining my accounts, just peace. Mine. My therapist calls it restoration of self. Twice monthly sessions have helped me understand how my childhood as the responsible one primed me for exploitation. The journals stacked on my nightstand chronicle the journey from raw anger to quiet acceptance. The guilt still flickers occasionally, like a weak bulb threatening to die. But it no longer consumes me. I've heard through mutual friends that Dad works at Peterson's Hardware now. Mom waitresses at the Bluebird Diner. Their Facebook posts about simple pleasures reek of forced contentment. Chase, surprisingly, has maintained steady employment at a music store for 6 months longer than any previous job. Brooke's Instagram now features more modest celebrations, the designer labels and European cafes, replaced by local parks and home-cooked meals. They're adapting, not my responsibility. To the family we choose and the boundaries we honor, I say, lifting my wine glass. Thanksgiving dinner at my table looks nothing like the performance I endured for decades. Catherine and her husband sit across from Marcus and his boyfriend. Ruth, my 80-year-old neighbor, beams beside her granddaughter. 2 colleagues from work complete our circle. Genuine laughter erupts at Catherine's story about her disastrous attempt at homemade cranberry sauce. No one here keeps score. No one monitors who contributes what. No one's love comes with conditions. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. We miss you at Thanksgiving. The door is always open. I don't respond. Some doors need to stay closed. Later, as dishes are cleared and coffee brewed, I show Ruth photos of the Montana cabin I'm purchasing 2 bedrooms overlooking a lake, where I'll retreat to write and photograph wildlife. My cabin, my terms. Have you thought more about Eric's invitation? Catherine asks when others have moved to the living room. I smile, thinking of the kind environmental lawyer I met at a fundraiser last month. His gentle questions, his thoughtful listening, the way he never once mentioned family beyond they shaped who we are, for better or worse. I'm meeting him for dinner next week, I tell her. Outside my windows, Seattle sparkles as dusk settles. In my hand, my phone shows 3 missed calls from Chase, likely another thinly veiled request, disguised as reconciliation. I silence the phone and turn away from the past, joining my chosen family in the warm light of my living room. Some relationships may never be restored, and that's okay. I've found my peace. The wedding album lies open on Aunt Maxine's coffee table, a glossy monument to betrayal. I stand frozen, my fingers tingling with numbness as I stare at my brother Nolan beaming beside his new wife. The same brother whose wedding I'm supposed to attend tomorrow. Elise, honey, I thought you knew. Aunt Maxine's voice wavers behind me, thick with something worse than pity guilt. The carefully wrapped crystal frame slips from my hands. The shattering glass echoes through the living room like a physical manifestation of what's happening inside me. Shards scatter across the hardwood floor, catching light from the afternoon sun streaming through the bay windows. That's not possible. My voice sounds strange, distant. I have the invitation right here. I fumble with my purse, extracting the thick cream envelope with my name in elegant calligraphy. Look, June 15th, tomorrow. Aunt Maxine takes the invitation with trembling hands, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. Oh, Elise. Her voice breaks. The wedding was last weekend. They sent you the wrong date. On purpose. The room tilts slightly. I'd taken a day off from my executive marketing position to prepare. Spent weeks searching for the perfect gift, the right dress, practicing what I'd say to family members who barely acknowledge my existence. How can they be so cruel? Your mother. Aunt Maxine hesitates, then squares her shoulders. They decided it would be easier if you weren't there. The memory of receiving that envelope floods back standing at my mailbox, sunlight catching the gold embossing as I ran my fingers over my name, the flutter of hope in my chest. Maybe this invitation meant healing. Maybe they finally wanted me there. I remember the family dinner 2 months ago when Nolan announced the engagement, the way his eyes swept the room, connecting with everyone except me. Still, I'd smiled, offered congratulations, pretended not to notice. That weekend I'd driven to 3 different stores hunting for the perfect dress, something elegant but not showy, something that said I belonged among them. The saleswoman had commented on my glowing smile as I stood before the mirror, heart light with hope. I kneel now, carefully gathering shards of broken crystal. When Aunt Maxine moves to help, I shake my head. Let me. My hands tremble, but my voice has found its steadiness. They've always treated me like I was invisible. Now they've made it official. For once, I don't search for explanations to soften what they've done. Don't create excuses for their cruelty. Something shifts inside me, a tectonic plate finally breaking free after years of pressure. I stand taller, meeting Aunt Maxine's tearful gaze. I fought with your mother about this, Aunt Maxine says, wringing her hands. I told her it was wrong, cruel even, but she overruled me, said you'd just bring up uncomfortable topics, ask embarrassing questions. I almost laugh. Uncomfortable topics like the thousands of dollars I've quietly funneled to keep the family lake cottage from foreclosure through my holding company. Embarrassing questions like why my brother's business failures are always forgiven while my successes are dismissed. I've spent years trying to earn my place in this family. I wrap the broken pieces in the gift paper, the festive pattern now seeming like another mockery. I thought if I achieved enough, helped enough, they'd finally see me. Aunt Maxine reaches for my hand, her papery skin cool against mine. Some people can't see what's right in front of them, Elise. Not won't, can't. The quiet realization settles over me. No achievement would ever be enough. No sacrifice would make them truly see me.
I've been trying to earn what should have been freely given, and in doing so, I've allowed them to determine my worth. I look at the album again, at all those smiling faces celebrating without me. My absence was so complete they didn't even need to edit me out. They'd made their choice long before this wedding. Perhaps it was time I made mine. And I will. I will show my family who I am. I will not be invisible anymore. The next day, the steering wheel feels slick under my palms as I pull into my parents' circular driveway. Their Tudor-style home stands proud against the afternoon sky, its manicured hedges and gleaming windows betraying nothing of the betrayal within. I kill the engine but remain seated, watching through the bay window as they lounge in the living room, surrounded by wedding photos. My mother's laugh floats through the partially open window, the same delicate, tinkling sound I'd spent decades trying to earn. My father leans back in his leather recliner, looking more relaxed than I've seen him in years. And Nolan, my golden child brother, stands by the mantel holding up a large wedding portrait, his voice carrying clearly across the lawn. Best decision we made was making sure she wasn't there to ruin everything like always. A wave of nausea rises as I grip the door frame, knuckles white against the polished wood. They continue laughing, flipping through album pages, completely oblivious to my presence. 3 minutes pass before my mother finally notices me standing in the entryway. Her champagne glass disappears behind a silver-framed photo with practiced subtlety. Elise. Not a question, not a greeting, just acknowledgement of an unexpected intrusion. The wedding was last weekend. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. You sent me the wrong date, on purpose. Nolan doesn't even look up from the album. I needed one perfect day without you. The simplicity of his statement hits harder than any angry defense could have. No denial, no pretense. You've always disrupted our peace, Elise. Mother adjusts her pearl necklace, a nervous habit from childhood. Can't you understand we needed one special occasion without your intensity? Father remains silent in his recliner, eyes downcast, studying his hands as if they hold secrets only he can decipher. His silence speaks volumes, tacit approval wrapped in cowardice. I step further into the room, noting how they occupy the comfortable seating while I stand. The physical representation of our family dynamic couldn't be clearer if it had been staged by a theatrical director. I've put thousands of dollars into the lake cottage repairs through my holding company. The statement hangs in the air between us. Did you think I wouldn't find out you've been telling everyone it's still completely yours? Mother waves her hand dismissively. That's what successful children do, they help their parents. It's your obligation. Playing with your little marketing spreadsheets while the rest of us have real careers. Nolan smirks, tossing the album onto the coffee table with careless entitlement. Dad built something tangible. I create architectural visions. What do you make besides money? Their words crystallize a truth I've spent years avoiding. To them, I am not a daughter or sister, but a resource, an ATM with inconvenient emotions they'd rather not acknowledge. I catch my reflection in the ornate mirror above the fireplace. The woman staring back seems diminished somehow, shoulders slightly curved inward, head tilted in a perpetual posture of apology. How long has this stranger been living in my skin? This woman trained to make herself smaller at every family gathering, to speak softer at every holiday dinner. Let me explain something you seem to have forgotten. I open my purse, retrieving a slim folder I'd grabbed from my home office on the drive over. I have documentation of every dollar spent on that cottage, every repair made, every tax bill paid. Mother's eyes narrow, the first flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. And most importantly, I have my name on the deed, not as co-owner. As sole owner. I place the document on the coffee table. You signed over your half to my company 3 years ago when Nolan needed capital for his failing restaurant venture. Father finally looks up, confusion battling with dawning comprehension. You're welcome to contest it, I continue, my voice gaining strength with each word. But the paperwork is quite thorough. Jenna made sure of that. Jenna? My Jenna Morales? Mother's voice rises an octave. Our family attorney? My attorney now, I correct her. For the past 5 years. 15 minutes later, walking back to my car, hands trembling but steps steady, I wonder if I should immediately cut all financial ties or gradually withdraw support to give them time to adjust. The swift justice of immediate action tempts me, but would that make me as callous as they had been? What would you do when you discover the people who should love you have only been using you all along? I start the engine, the quiet purr somehow steadying my racing heart. For the first time since receiving that beautiful, lying invitation, I feel something close to peace. Perhaps the most important wedding wasn't Nolan's after all, but my own marrying the woman I am to the woman I've always been capable of becoming. That same day, my phone buzzed for the 5th time in an hour. Another cousin I haven't spoken to since last Thanksgiving, suddenly concerned about my mental health. Mother's been busy. Elise, honey, we're worried about you. Uncle Robert's voice crackles through the speaker. Your mother says you've been making some wild accusations. I press my fingertips against my temple. Did she mention that they sent me a fake wedding invitation with the wrong date? The pause tells me everything. Well, there must be some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Uncle Robert. They didn't want me there, so they made sure I wouldn't be. After hanging up, I open my laptop to find Nolan has posted wedding photos online. Surrounded by everyone who matters, reads the caption beneath an image of our beaming parents flanking the happy couple. The absence I'd never noticed in family photos before now screams at me. The final blow arrives in today's mail. A formal letter on Dad's business stationery demanding the return of the lake cottage to its rightful owners. As if I'd stolen rather than saved it. Night after night, I lie awake, photographs spread across my bedspread. The smiling faces look back at me, mocking my naivety. Had I imagined the happy moments? Created false memories of connection where there was only tolerance? The weight of loneliness presses against my chest, heavier now without the pretense of family bonds. During a weak moment at 3 a.m, I reach for my phone, thumb hovering over Mother's number. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe one apology could restore the peace. But whose peace? Certainly not mine. Instead, I open my laptop and begin documenting. Every check written for Nolan's business failures. Every transfer covering the cottage property taxes. Every loan that was never repaid. The spreadsheet grows, each entry a brick in the wall I'm finally building between us. Tuesday afternoon, a knock on my office door breaks my concentration. Aunt Maxine stands there holding 2 paper bags from my favorite deli. Thought you might be skipping lunch, she says, placing a sandwich on my desk. She rests her hand on my shoulder, her turquoise rings catching the light. I'm proud of you for standing up. It's about time someone in this family had courage. The simple touch nearly undoes me. My assistant's voice comes through the intercom before I can respond. Miss Hartman, your parents are in the lobby. They don't have an appointment. Aunt Maxine squeezes my shoulder. Would you like me to stay? I straighten my spine. Number, I need to handle this myself. When they enter, Mother immediately produces tears, mascara perfectly intact despite them. How could you abandon your family? We've always been there for you. Father stands rigid beside her. The cottage has been in our family for generations. You have no right. They remain standing while I stay seated behind my desk, no longer jumping to attention when they enter a room. That cottage hasn't been in our family for years. I say, voice steadier than I expected. You sold your half to my company when you needed money for Nolan's failed business venture. Mother's tears evaporate. We did no such thing. I remove a document from my desk drawer. Your signature is right here, Mother. April 2018, when Nolan's restaurant went under. Father steps forward. We assumed once things turned around. You assumed I would give it back without mentioning the legal transfer? Or you assumed I would continue bankrolling the family while being excluded from it? The words flow easier now. I'm not your bank. I'm not your family's safety net. I'm done. For the first time in my life, my mother looks at me with something other than disappointment. Fear. I made myself clear. The intercom buzzes. Miss Hartman, Jenna Morales is here for your 2 o'clock. Perfect timing. Jenna strides in, briefcase in hand, her authoritative presence filling the room. Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, I believe our meeting was concluded. She gestures toward the door with practiced professionalism. This is family business. Mother hisses. Which is why Miss Morales, my attorney, is handling it. I reply. All further communication will go through her office. The contrast is striking Jenna's respectful Miss Hartman against my mother's dismissive glare. As Jenna escorts them out, Father looks back once, confusion replacing his usual certainty. When they're gone, Jenna returns with documents. Ready to make this official? With each paper I sign, my voice grows stronger, my signature more confident. The legal notice giving them 30 days to vacate the cottage Feels like signing a Declaration of Independence. Your mother's signature on this sale document is ironclad, Jenna says, sorting the paperwork into her briefcase. They don't have a legal leg to stand on. As I sign the final document, my phone lights up with Nolan's name the first time he's called in years. I watch it ring, no longer jumping at his summons. Some calls don't deserve to be answered. Next day, the documents spread across Thomas Bedford's polished mahogany desk like battle plans. I sign each one with deliberate strokes, my signature growing more confident with each page. Joint accounts closed. Co-signed loans transferred. Investment portfolios separated. Thomas checks items off his list, his voice carrying the measured cadence of a man who's witnessed family fortunes crumble before. Perfect timing, too. According to their schedule, your parents should be halfway through their country club luncheon right about now. I glance at my watch, 12:37. Mother will be ordering her second gin and tonic, father nodding politely at whatever retired executive has cornered him. The predictability of their routine has become my strategic advantage. What about the restraining order? I ask, sliding the last form across the desk. Thomas adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses. Judge Harriman will review it this afternoon. The documentation is thorough. Workplace harassment has clear precedent. I think of my parents' unannounced visits, the scenes in the lobby, the whispers among colleagues. My fingers curl into a fist beneath the desk. I've seen families destroy people, Elise. Thomas closes his leather portfolio with a decisive snap. You're making the right choice. The certainty in his voice steadies something inside me that's been trembling for days. When my phone vibrates, I expect Aunt Maxine's name. Instead, the building security number flashes on the screen. Miss Hartman? There's a situation in the lobby. Your brother is demanding to see you. Thomas notices my expression and points to the speakerphone button. I press it. Is he creating a disturbance? I ask, my voice surprisingly calm. Yes, ma'am. Security protocol requires documentation of the incident. He's quite insistent about financial matters. Thomas scribbles a note and slides it toward me. This strengthens the restraining order case. I'm not coming down, I tell the security officer. Please follow standard protocols for unauthorized visitors. 15 minutes later, my phone rings again. An unfamiliar number. Elise? It's Kendra, Nolan's wife. Her voice wavers. I'm outside your building. I close my eyes, bracing for another attack. I saw everything, she continues. The way he acted in your lobby. I had no idea he could be like that. Through the window, I spot her standing near the fountain, phone pressed to her ear, shoulders hunched against the spring breeze. He told me you refused to help with the wedding, that you were jealous of our happiness. Her voice cracks. But that wasn't true, was it? You never even knew when it was happening. The admission hangs between us. I'm sorry, she whispers. I should have questioned why you weren't there. I watch her brush hair from her face, the diamond on her ring finger catching sunlight. 3 weeks married and already discovering the person behind the performance. Thomas discreetly steps out, giving me privacy. When the door closes, I finally speak. Why are you telling me this? Because I recognize the look on his face today. It's the same one my father had when he threatened my mother. I'm not waiting 30 years to admit what I'm seeing. When Kendra reached out, I wondered if I should maintain the wall I'd built around myself or allow this one small bridge to remain. Could someone so closely tied to my pain become an ally, or was this another trap I couldn't yet see? Aunt Maxine arrives at my office later that afternoon, carrying a worn leather briefcase I've never seen before. I've been keeping these for years, she says, laying out folders containing printouts of emails, text messages, and financial records dating back a decade. Your mother never believed in deleting anything. Thought she might need leverage someday. I flip through pages of correspondence revealing a systematic pattern of emotional and financial exploitation. Need money for Nolan's business venture. Elise won't mind co-signing. Tell Elise the cottage repairs are minimal. No need to mention the foundation issues. She's coming for Thanksgiving. Hide the new boat until after she leaves. Each message lands like a physical blow. Jenna, my lawyer, arrives as I'm midway through the second folder that day. She scans several key documents, her expression hardening. This strengthens our position on the cottage ownership considerably, she says, selecting specific emails for her files. The judge will see a clear pattern here. Thomas returns with confirmation that additional security measures have been implemented on my accounts. They won't be able to access anything, even with the information they have about you. The following morning, Jenna calls with news that makes me sit down abruptly in my kitchen. Judge granted the restraining order. His exact words were, "Clear pattern of emotional and financial harassment. They can't come within 500 feet of your workplace or residence." That afternoon, Aunt Maxine calls. "Your cousin Rebecca canceled her bridge game with your mother. Said she couldn't look her in the eye after what she did to you." One by one, the dominoes begin to fall. Uncle Stephen removes them from the holiday rotation. Grandmother's oldest friend refuses their dinner invitation. Nolan's drinking increases as rumors circulate about Kendra moving back to her parents' house. His financial stability leaves with her. When the formal eviction notice for the cottage arrives at my parents' house, reality finally sinks in. The consequences they never imagined possible have come due. I run my finger over the embossed letterhead of my holding company, the same company that purchased the cottage 3 years ago when they could no longer afford the taxes, the cottage they still believe is theirs. The truth has a way of revealing itself, one document at a time. A week later, on Wednesday, the familiar gleam of morning sunlight across the polished granite lobby of my office building feels different today. I've walked through these doors hundreds of times, but never quite like this, with security guards Stan and Miguel exchanging knowing glances as my parents enter behind Pastor Williams. Their expressions a careful study in contrition. Mother's camel hair coat hangs slightly askew on her shoulders, her normally perfect hair showing telltale strands out of place. Father stands with unusual deference, his shoulders hunched forward in a posture I've never witnessed before. The family pastor walks between them, Bible clutched to his chest like a shield. "Elise." Pastor Williams extends his hand, his voice carrying that practiced tone of gentle authority he uses for hospital visits and funeral services. "Your parents thought it might help to have someone neutral present for this conversation." I don't take his hand. "There's nothing neutral about someone who's been at our Christmas dinner table for 20 years, Pastor." Mother steps forward, her voice wavering. "We've been praying about this situation, Elise. About your behavior lately." "My behavior?" The words escape as a quiet laugh that surprises even me. "The cottage has been in our family for generations." Father finally speaks, his usual commanding tone replaced with something resembling humility. "Your grandfather built it with his own hands." Pastor Williams places a gentle hand on my arm. "Forgiveness is divine, Elise. They're still your parents. There are bonds that transcend disagreements." "Disagreements?" I repeat, feeling heat rise in my neck. "Is that what we're calling deliberate cruelty now?" "Think about what people at church will say," Mother whispers, glancing around the lobby as if congregation members might materialize beside the potted ferns. "Families shouldn't air their difficulties in public. The Thornton girl just went through something similar with her parents. Everyone's talking." I straighten my spine, feeling a strange lightness spread through my chest. "I've been promoted to Creative Strategy Director, Pastor. Did they mention that when they asked you to come? Or that my team just landed the Richardson account?" The pastor blinks, clearly thrown off script. "That's wonderful news, Elise. Congratulations." I reach into my leather portfolio and remove 2 envelopes, placing them side by side on the reception desk. "This is the invitation to Nolan's wedding I received. And this is the real one Aunt Maxine showed me afterward." Pastor Williams peers at them, confusion creasing his forehead as he notes the different dates. "They sent me the wrong date on purpose so I wouldn't attend my own brother's wedding." My voice remains steady, a revelation in itself. This wasn't a misunderstanding or an oversight. It was deliberate exclusion. Sometimes families make difficult choices to maintain peace. Pastor Williams begins, but I cut him off. "I've spent my life forgiving, Pastor. I've turned the other cheek so many times I've been spinning in circles. Now I'm spending it living." I lock eyes with him directly. "Did they tell you about the lake cottage? How I've been making the payments for 8 years while they pretended it was still theirs? Or how they've needed financial assistance every time Nolan starts a new business venture? Or perhaps they mentioned how they forgot to invite me to Thanksgiving dinner 3 years running but remembered to call when they needed their roof replaced." The pastor's expression shifts, the certainty in his eyes wavering as he glances between my parents. "Elise, after all we've sacrificed for you." Mother interjects, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. I turn to face her fully, standing taller than I ever have in their presence. Name one sacrifice you've made for me that wasn't actually for Nolan. The silence stretches between us, becoming their answer. I pick up a manila envelope from the reception desk and hand it to my father. These are all the family photos I kept. The ones where you cropped me halfway out or where I'm standing slightly apart. I've been holding on to them thinking someday I'd feel like I belonged in those frames. Father takes it automatically, his fingers trembling slightly. I'm releasing myself from the obligation of being your daughter. I say, the words bringing an unexpected rush of oxygen into my lungs. You're free from having to pretend I matter to you. You can't just stop being family, Mother says, her voice rising. After all, we've sacrificed for you. You already said that. I hold her gaze, still waiting for an example. Stan steps forward from his security desk, his presence a quiet reminder that this confrontation has an audience. Everything all right here, Miss Hartman? Yes, Stan. My visitors were just leaving. This isn't over, Elise, Father says, clutching the envelope of photos. Actually, it island. I turn toward the elevator banks. Stan will show you out. I don't look back as the elevator doors close behind me, cutting off the sound of my mother's protests. The sensation of lightness continues spreading through my chest, replacing the familiar weight I've carried for decades. 2 weeks later, the news reaches me through Aunt Maxine Nolan has lost his job, his marriage already showing cracks under financial pressure. I feel nothing but a distant pity, like observing strangers through a rain-streaked window. The first letter arrives at my office the following Tuesday. The envelope bears my father's distinctive handwriting, precise capitals with flourished edges. I place it on my desk beside my coffee, studying it as steam rises between us. My finger traces the edge of the seal, not yet breaking it. Inside might be more manipulation, more guilt, more demands disguised as family obligation, or perhaps something else entirely. I haven't decided whether to open it yet, and that choice, I realize, is the most valuable thing I've gained. A year later, the morning sun streams through the floor to ceiling windows of my lake house office, casting golden patterns across the hardwood floor. My photographs line the walls landscapes I captured during weekend trips when I stopped waiting for invitations that never came. No family portraits here, just moments that belong solely to me. My phone rings, and for the first time in years, my shoulders don't tense at the sound. Elise Hartman, I answer, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I arrange presentation notes. It's a potential client interested in my boutique marketing approach. As I explain my philosophy about authentic brand storytelling, I notice the wall calendar behind my desk. Where family obligations once dominated birthdays, I celebrated alone. Holidays where I arrived bearing gifts and left bearing wounds, now personal milestones stretch across the months. Half marathon in August. Photography workshop in September. A week in Montana just because I've always wanted to see big sky country. When the call ends, I lean back in my chair and breathe. The cottage that once symbolized my family's hold over me has become my sanctuary. The mail arrives with its usual shuffle through the brass slot. Among the business correspondence sits a thick cream envelope, my name written in flowing calligraphy. My heart stutters momentarily before steadying. Another wedding invitation, my cousin Rachel this time. I run my finger along the embossed edge, remembering how a similar envelope once carried such bitter disappointment. The date looks correct. The RSVP card includes a handwritten note. It wouldn't be the same without you, Elise. Please come. For a moment, I consider what's expected, what the old Elise would have done. Drop everything. Find the perfect gift. Prepare answers to intrusive questions about my single status and childless life. Instead, I check my calendar. The wedding falls during my photography retreat in Maine. I select a response card from my desk drawer and write a genuine note explaining my absence and wishing them joy. I'll send a thoughtfully selected gift, not to earn approval, but because giving brings me pleasure when it's freely chosen. That evening, Aunt Maxine arrives first for our dinner, bringing her famous apple crumble. Thomas appears with a bottle of wine he's been saving for a special occasion. Jenna rushes in last, apologizing for court running late, her laugh filling my kitchen. 1 year, Thomas says, raising his glass once we're seated around my dining table. 1 year of boundaries that would make a fortress envious. To finding family and friendship, Aunt Maxine adds, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and strength in starting over. We clink glasses as laughter bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me, rusty but genuine. Later, after they've gone, I sit at my desk and open my father's latest letter. Unlike his early correspondence filled with guilt and demands, this one acknowledges harm without seeking absolution. "I failed you," he writes simply. "You deserved better." I placed the letter in a wooden box with the others, not displayed proudly, nor destroyed in anger, just acknowledged as part of a story I no longer need to rewrite. Beside me sits a brochure for a mentoring program helping young women navigate early career challenges. My travel itinerary for Portugal, a solo journey I've dreamed about since college, rests beneath it. Both represent futures built on my terms. As I close the box of letters, I wonder if healing means reconciliation or simply peace with the past. Is family defined by blood, or by those who treat your heart with care? Some bridges burn for a reason, while others can be rebuilt stronger than before. What would you choose? The comfort of what's familiar or the promise of what could be?